I never thought I'd be the one to turn the tables on my own flesh and blood. At 78 years old, you'd think life would have mellowed me out, taught me to forgive and forget. But some wounds cut deeper than time can heal. My name is Eleanor Hargrove, and this is the story of how a single, thoughtless act shattered the fragile bonds of family and set me free in ways I never imagined. It all started on a crisp autumn morning in October 2023. The leaves outside my modest two-story home in suburban Connecticut were turning shades of amber and crimson, a beautiful reminder of change. I'd lived in that house for over 50 years, raising my 3 children there with my late husband, Arthur. He passed away 10 years ago from a sudden heart attack, leaving me to navigate widowhood alone. But I wasn't truly alone, or so I thought. My children, Rebecca, Thomas, and Julia, along with their spouses and my 7 grandchildren, were supposed to be my support system. They visited sporadically, called on holidays, and I helped them financially whenever they needed it. College tuitions, down payments on houses, even vacations, I dipped into my savings without a second thought. After all, that's what mothers do. That morning, I was in the kitchen, brewing my usual pot of chamomile tea, when the doorbell rang. It was a delivery from a florist, a large bouquet of roses with a card attached. The card read, "A happy early birthday, Mom. From all of us." My birthday wasn't for another 2 weeks, but I smiled anyway. It was rare for them to remember without a reminder. I opened the card, expecting warm wishes. Instead, what I found inside made my blood run cold. The front was a cartoonish image of an old woman in a rocking chair, surrounded by cats. Inside, in bold letters, "A happy birthday. You're 1 year closer to the nursing home. Don't worry, we'll visit, oh maybe. Love, your ungrateful kids and grandkids." There were signatures from everyone, Rebecca's neat cursive, Thomas's scroll, Julia's bubbly print. Even the grandkids had doodled little hearts around their names. At the bottom, a postscript, a "just kidding, Mom. But seriously, have you thought about downsizing? That house is too big for you alone." I stared at the card for what felt like hours, my hands trembling. Was this a joke? It didn't feel like one. It felt like a slap in the face, a cruel acknowledgement of everything I'd suspected but never voiced. For years, I'd overheard whispers at family gatherings about how my house was a wasted on me, how I should sell it and move into assisted living so they could help manage my affairs. They'd hint at my forgetfulness, even though I managed my finances impeccably. Arthur and I had built a nest egg over the decades, investing wisely in stocks, real estate, and even some art pieces. But I'd kept the full extent of our wealth hidden, not out of mistrust at first, but to teach them self-reliance. Now, it seemed, that secrecy would be my salvation. I set the card down and poured my tea, but it tasted bitter. Memories flooded back. Rebecca, my eldest at 52, was a successful lawyer in New York City. I'd paid for her Ivy League education, co-signed her first apartment loan. Thomas, 49, ran a small tech startup in Boston. I'd invested seed money when no one else would. Julia, the baby of 46, was a teacher in Philadelphia, and I'd covered her wedding costs and helped with her twins' medical bills when they were born prematurely. And the grandchildren? I'd spoiled them rotten, birthday gifts, summer camps, even college funds I'd started in secret. But gratitude? It had evaporated like morning dew. Visits were obligatory, calls perfunctory. Last Christmas, they'd all come over, but spent most of the time on their phones, complaining about the old-fashioned decorations. Rebecca had even suggested I update the house to make it more sellable. Sellable? As if my home, filled with Arthur's tools in the garage and my garden out back, was just an asset to liquidate. That night, I couldn't sleep. I paced the living room, staring at family photos on the mantel. In one, we were all at the beach in 1995, laughing under the sun. What happened to us? Arthur's voice echoed in my mind. Ellie, family is everything, but don't let them walk all over you. He'd been the pragmatic one, insisting we keep our finances private. They'll love you for you, not for the money, he'd said. But now, it seemed the opposite was true. The next day, I made a decision. No more. I called my lawyer, Mr. Hargrove, no relation, just a coincidence, and scheduled a meeting. Eleanor, what's this about? He asked over the phone. Revising my will, I replied calmly. And some other matters. Over the following weeks, I set my plan in motion. First, I liquidated some assets quietly. Arthur and I had invested in a small vineyard in California back in the 80s. It had grown into a profitable enterprise, but we'd kept it under a trust. I sold my share for a handsome sum, transferring it to offshore accounts I'd set up years ago for tax purposes. Then, the art collection, a few original Picassos and Monets Arthur had acquired through his gallery connections. They fetched millions at a private auction. By the time I was done, my net worth, which my children assumed was a modest $500,000, was actually closer to $15 million. I didn't tell them any of this. Instead, I played along with their joke. On my actual birthday, they all gathered at my house for dinner. Rebecca brought a store-bought cake, Thomas a bottle of cheap wine, Julia some flowers that looked wilted. The grandkids were glued to their devices. So, Mom, Rebecca said as we sat down, did you get our card? Hilarious, right? I forced a smile. Oh, yes. Very funny. It got me thinking. Thomas chuckled. About time you considered that nursing home. We could help you find a nice one. Julia nodded. Yeah, and the house, it's prime real estate. You could downsize and have money left over. I sipped my water, letting the silence stretch. Actually, I've been thinking about changes myself. They perked up, expecting me to announce a move. Instead, I pulled out envelopes from my purse, one for each child. What's this? Rebecca asked, opening hers. Statements, I said. From the loans and gifts I've given over the years. Thomas frowned. Loans? We thought those were gifts. Semantics, I replied. But effective immediately, no more financial support. And I've revised my will. The house, the savings, it's all going to charity upon my death. Animal shelters, mostly. I do love cats, as your card pointed out. The room erupted. What? Mom, you can't be serious. Julia cried. Rebecca's face turned red. This is insane. After everything we've done for you? Done for me? I echoed, my voice steady. Tell me, what have you done lately besides mock me? Thomas slammed his fist on the table. You're being petty over a joke card? It's not the card, I said, standing up. It's the years of ingratitude. The assumptions that I'm just an old woman waiting to die so you can inherit. Well, surprise, I'm not dying anytime soon, and you're not inheriting a dime. They argued, pleaded, even threatened legal action. But Mr. Hargrove had airtight documents. The grandkids looked confused, one asking, Grandma, why are you mad? I knelt down to her level. Because families should love each other, not use each other, sweetie. That night, after they stormed out, I felt a weight lift. For the first time in years, the house felt like mine again. But I wasn't done. Revenge, as they say, is a dish best served cold, and mine was just warming up. The following month, I booked a flight to Paris. I'd always dreamed of seeing the Eiffel Tower, but Arthur's work kept us stateside. Now, with no one to answer to, I went. The flight was first class, a luxury I denied myself for decades. As the plane soared over the Atlantic, I sipped champagne and reflected on our early days. Arthur and I met in 1965 at an art exhibit in Hartford. He was dashing, with a passion for paintings that matched my love for literature. We married quickly, built a life together. The children came, and life became a whirlwind of school plays, soccer games, and family vacations to the Cape. Landing in Paris, the city enveloped me in its magic. My hotel on the Champs-Élysées had a balcony overlooking the bustling street. I wandered the Seine's banks, visited Notre Dame, its spires reaching toward the sky like ancient guardians. At the Louvre, I stood before the Mona Lisa, her enigmatic smile mirroring my own newfound mystery. "Arthur, you'd love this," I whispered to the air. I dined at bistros, savouring escargot and crepes, flirting harmlessly with waiters who called me a Madame Charmante. One evening, I climbed the Eiffel Tower at dusk, the city lights twinkling below like stars. Wind whipped my hair, and for the first time, I felt alive, not just existing, but thriving. Back home, the calls started flooding in. "Rebecca, a mom, the firm's cutting hours. Can you help with the mortgage?" "Thomas, the startup needs a bridge loan." "Julia, the twins' therapy is expensive." Each time, I said no. "You'll manage," I'd reply, my voice firm but kind. It hurt at first, hearing their desperation, but I remembered the card's sting. Christmas arrived, and I didn't host. Instead, I volunteered at a local animal shelter, walking dogs and cuddling kittens. The work was fulfilling, their unconditional love a balm for my soul. There, I met Harold, a 79-year-old widower with silver hair and a gentle laugh. He was a retired professor of history, volunteering to fill his empty days. Lost my wife to cancer, he shared over coffee one afternoon. "You?" "Heart attack," I said. 10 years ago. We bonded over shared grief, swapping stories of our marriages. Harold had travelled extensively, Egypt, China, Australia. "Join me sometime," he suggested. "Why not?" I replied, surprising myself. As winter thawed into spring, I sold the house. The realtor's sign went up, and offers poured in. I accepted one for well over asking price, pocketing a tidy sum. With the money, I bought a sleek condo in Miami, floor-to-ceiling windows, ocean views, a rooftop pool. The community was vibrant, filled with active seniors playing tennis and attending yoga classes. I joined them, my body strengthening with each sun's salutation. I also invested in a dream, a small bookstore in downtown Miami. Eleanor's Escape, or I called it, stocking shelves with classics and travelogues. Harold helped, his historical knowledge curating a section on world adventures. We hosted book clubs, poetry readings under string lights. One night, a young author read from her memoir about breaking free from toxic relationships. The audience applauded. I felt seen. The family imploded without my support. Rebecca faced foreclosure threats, Thomas's startup declared bankruptcy, Julia's marriage hit rocky waters amid financial stress. They blamed me in heated voicemails. "How could you do this? Mom, we're your blood. But I held firm. For the grandchildren, though, I softened. Their college funds remained, accessible only upon maturity. I sent letters, a work hard, darlings. Life rewards effort, not entitlement. By summer 2024, Harold and I were inseparable. We traveled to Italy, Rome's ancient ruins, Florence's art galleries. In Venice, on a gondola gliding through canals, he proposed. Eleanor, you've reignited my spark. Marry me? Tears in my eyes, I said yes. Our wedding was intimate, a beach ceremony at sunset, waves lapping the shore. Friends from the shelter and bookstore attended, no family. They learned via my new blog, A Second Acts at 78, where I chronicled my journeys. Posts about Paris garnered thousands of views, comments flooding in, you're an inspiration. Go, Grandma. The backlash was inevitable. Anonymous trolls accused me of cruelty, abandoning your kids? Monster. But supporters drowned them out. They had it coming, one wrote. Teach Em a lesson. One sweltering August day, Rebecca appeared at my condo door, suitcase in hand. Mom, please. We're sorry. The card was idiotic. Can we talk? I invited her in, the air conditioning a cool relief. Over iced tea on the balcony, she poured out her heart. I lost my job. The house is gone. I see now, we took you for granted. I nodded, the ocean breeze carrying salt and forgiveness. Apologies a starts, Becker. Show me change. She stayed a week, helping at the bookstore. We talked late into nights, about her divorce, my loneliness post-Arthur. I never knew you felt that way, as she admitted. Thomas followed suit in September, arriving humbled. Got a corporate job, he said. Boring, but stable. We walked the beach, discussing his failures. I relied on you too much. Julia came with the twins in October. Husband and I are in counseling, as she shared. The kids splashed in the pool. We baked cookies like old times. Reconciliation wasn't instant. Trust rebuilt slowly, through actions, unsolicited visits, genuine calls. Thanksgiving 2024, they all came to Miami, no expectations, just family. We cooked turkey, shared laughs. Tell us about Venice, Thomas urged. As I recounted the proposal, their eyes widened. You're glowing, Mom, Julia said. By 2025, my blog evolved into a book deal. Reclaiming the Golden Years hit shelves in March, a memoir of loss, revenge, and renewal. Book tours took me nationwide, Harold by my side. At a New York signing, the family surprised me, holding signs, proud of Grandma. The launch party was electric, readings, toasts. In my speech, that card wasn't the end, it was the beginning. Family isn't ownership, it's mutual respect. Now, on this December day in 2025, I sit with Harold on our balcony, watching the sunset paint the sky in pinks and oranges. At 80, life pulses with possibility. We've planned a cruise to the Caribbean, more adventures ahead. The children thrive independently, Rebecca's new firm, Thomas's promotion, Julia's stable home. That cruel card? I keep it in a drawer, a reminder. It sparked pain, but ignited freedom. Revenge faded, empowerment endures. Family mended, stronger for the break. And me? I'm not just surviving, I'm soaring. To truly grasp how I reached this peace, let's rewind to the roots of our family dynamic. Arthur and I started humble. In 1965, our Hartford apartment was tiny, but love filled it. He worked long hours at the gallery, bringing home sketches. I'd teach during the day, grade papers at night. Rebecca's birth in 1971 changed everything. Sleepless nights, joyful chaos. Thomas arrived in 1974, a bundle of energy tearing through the house. Julia in 1977 completed our trio, her cries echoing through our new suburban home. We instilled values, chores for allowance, education first. But prosperity bred complacency. By the 90s, Arthur's investments paid off, the vineyard, art acquisitions. We vacationed modestly, saving for their futures. Don't spoil them, Arthur warned. After his death in 2013, grief overwhelmed me. The funeral was a blur. Children consoled, then drifted. I overcompensated, $50,000 for Rebecca's divorce in 2015, no questions. Thomas's $100,000 startup seed in 2018, lost to poor decisions. Julia's $80,000 NICU bills in 2020, during the pandemic's isolation. Patterns emerged, holidays became transactions. Easter 2022, they arrived empty-handed, left with checks. Thanks, Mom, they'd say, hugs brief. The card crystallized it. Post-confrontation, solitude hit hard. Nights, I'd garden under moonlight, weeding out regrets. Selling assets was cathartic, vineyard calls with brokers, auction thrills. Paris details linger, a street artist's portrait, Seine cruise at night. I bought a scarf, red and bold, symbolizing rebirth. Meeting Harold deepened it. Our first date, park picnic, cheese and wine. Tell me about Arthur, he said. I did, tears flowing. He shared his wife's battle, our vulnerabilities bonding us. Miami move was liberating. Packing boxes, discarding old photos, keeping memories, shedding baggage. Condo setup, modern furniture, ocean-inspired decor. Bookstore opening, ribbon cutting with locals. First sale, a travel guide to a young couple. Adventure awaits, I said. Travels with Harold, Greece's islands, blue seas matching his eyes. Japan's cherry blossoms, petal showers like confetti. Wedding day, white dress, bare feet in sand. Vows, in our twilight, we found dawn. Blog virality, 100,000 followers by mid-2024. Posts on financial independence for widows resonated. Family shifts, Rebecca's volunteer work at Legal Aid. Thomas mentoring startups. Julia teaching budgeting classes. Easter 2025, Miami brunch, grandkids hunting eggs on the beach. No tension, just joy. Book success, royalties funded scholarships. Tours, Chicago, LA, sharing stages with influencers. Epilogue moments, Harold's hand in mine, planning Antarctica. No limits, he says. That card? Transformed from wound to wings.